Oh, what's going on, guys? Gamer Dude back once again, bringing you some more informative gaming news. But before we begin, you all know the routine, or at least I hope you do by now. If you are new to the channel, please make sure you smash that like button and drop me a subscribe, because it would just be your good deed of the day. Same applies if you are a returning viewer. Now then, big news coming out from Sony. As you can tell from the title, it's looking like Sony is getting ready to launch another PSP. Not a PS Vita, not that crappy streamy thing they released last year, a genuine PSP, which will allow the players to run PS4 games. Now, in this video, I'm going to be breaking down everything I've found on this, why it's significant, why the original PSP was way ahead of its time and should have gotten more love, but sadly the PS Vita killed it, and why it hasn't kept up, why Sony hasn't kept up with the other handheld competitors like Nintendo. So, on with the show. PlayStation might be preparing to release a new PSP console in what could be a rival to the Nintendo Switch 2 and Steam Deck. Now, the PlayStation Portable couldn't match up to the Nintendo DS of the time in terms of overall sales. Sony's first jump into the handheld market was still hugely successful in spite of this. The PSP itself, it sold 80 million units worldwide. Granted, the wider scope of that was in Japan, but PlayStation's based in Japan, so that's expected, but still, 80 million units is still a good starting point. Unfortunately, however, Sony's interest in handhelds came to a halt after the absolute bombshell of its successor, the PS Vita, which went pretty much all digital. You had to download everything from the PS Store on that, which was a bit of a bummer. But yeah, that's not why it flopped. That's just why I didn't like it. But yeah, the PS Vita was only estimated to have sold somewhere between 10 and 15 million units during its short lifespan from 2011 to 2015. I mean, 10 and 15 million units isn't too bad, but in terms of like longevity, it's not something that can be played out. See what I did there? You see the pun? Yeah, anyway, moving on. That was a terrible pun. I'm not Spider-Man. The company has dabbled in handheld devices since then, though, notably with last year's PlayStation Portable, which everybody kind of thought it was literally the successor to the PSP. However, it became another PS Vita, although it was only able to be used, should I say, to stream PS5 games through remote play, although it did sell better than PlayStation had expected. But new reports have suggested Sony might be planning to launch an entirely new portable console. This rumor comes from an insider who previously leaked PC ports for Death Stranding and Horizon Zero Dawn, so he's got some credibility behind him. In the post, the insider claims Sony is gearing up to launch a new PSP which will be able to run PlayStation 4 games. The post notes that there are only PS4 games on the console's launch lineup, but it's unclear whether or not the system will support games from other PlayStation formats such as PS1, PS2, PS3, PS4, and PS5, possibly the PSP. The implication is that unlike the PlayStation Portal, they can be played natively and so don't require streaming to work. So essentially it does become another handheld console. You don't need the internet to play it, you don't need to stream it, it'll just be yours. You can take it anywhere like the original PSP and just play it wherever you want, on the train, on the coach, passenger in a car, in a cafe, anywhere you want, it's yours to play. And that was kind of the issue with the one they released last year. People were moaning that, well, yeah, we can't really play it. There's nowhere for us to play it. But yeah, still. Anyway. This rumor hasn't come out of nowhere either. In February of this year, a YouTuber by the name of Moore's Law is Dead had actually leaked the PS5 Pro specifications, also claimed that Sony is in early development on a handheld device, which is at least 2 years out. He also claimed the device would be able to run PlayStation 4 games natively, as well as certain PlayStation 5 games at a lower resolution at launch. Coincidentally or not, Sony Interactive Entertainment in Japan recently posted a job listing for a role within its system software development team, which describes creating a system to allow entertainment game consoles to run on game consoles with different architectures. Now, whether or not this is to do with the video I posted before this one, to do with, all the exclusivity stuff, games coming over from Xbox to PlayStation and vice versa, I don't know, because that's all it says. They're just looking for someone to basically just do this for them. It doesn't go into specifics. It just says, we need someone to do this. Can you do it? There's the job listing. But when you consider the huge success of the Nintendo consoles, or Nintendo handheld consoles, that is, and now with Valve's Steam Deck, it makes sense that other companies would choose the same hybrid console format. Now, Microsoft has already rumored to be developing a handheld Xbox of some sort, so it's possibly certain that Sony is considering something similar. I mean, I do remember some years ago, actually, because I actually wrote a paper on it for my college coursework, that Xbox were planning a handheld console way back then. There was even a concept design for it that I used in my coursework. So the game has always been there for them. They've just not really played it well. Nintendo has always been the dominant force in handheld gaming. I will not dispute that. They started with the Game Boy, the Nintendo DS, the Game Boy Advance, etc., etc. They have always been the dominant force in the handheld gaming community. So it would stand to reason that Microsoft and Sony want to catch up with that. They want to capitalize on it. They've seen there's money in it, and they want to do it. I mean, when the PSP was in its prime, there were exclusive games to the PSP tied into other various gaming titles. God of War was a prime example. I think it was called Chains of Olympus on the PSP. There was an Uncharted exclusive game on the PSP that never saw the light of day on the consoles. So they can really do whatever they want with this. And if the whole exclusivity red tape line is being cut, then there's a bunch of money to be made here. They can really capitalize on this and really bring Sony and Microsoft back into the handheld market. If this does indeed turn out to be true, this increased competition might cause a few problems for Nintendo's successor, the Switch, which is expected to be announced before April of next year. But then again, the PSP launched alongside the technically inferior Nintendo DS, which went on to become the best-selling portable console ever, leaves a bit to be desired. But that's just about all I could find on that. I mean, I thought there was more to that. I actually wrote down a script for this one, I'm not going to lie. I thought there was more to it, but I've come to the end of it. So I'm guessing that's all I found regarding this. But yeah, it would be interesting to see Sony and Microsoft Sony return to the handheld consoles and Microsoft dabble into the handheld consoles, because Microsoft haven't done it. I think, as I mentioned earlier, they were going to, but for some reason they decided not to. So yeah, it would be interesting to see Sony and Microsoft come into the portable world again and actually be successful, because PlayStation's last two portable ones weren't to my liking. The Vita, not to my taste. It's all digital and no thanks. And the crappy thing that they released last year, I think it's just an ugly abomination. It just looks really bad. It looks really ugly. I mean, it looks like a glorified phone holder. It's grim. It's bad. If you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think. Do you think it's a good idea for Sony to do this again? come back into the portable gaming world, a PSP 2, so to speak? And should Microsoft do the same to compete with Nintendo? Or will Nintendo always be the dominant force and they should just really not bother trying at all because Nintendo will always take the cake when it comes to portable consoles? So yeah, once again, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you all for stopping by. I really do appreciate it. Once again, you all know the routine. If you are new to the channel, please make sure you smash that like button and drop me a subscribe because it would just be your good deed of the day. Same applies if you are a returning viewer. Stay tuned for more content from yours truly. I know I've been absent for a little while. I've just been busy, had things to do, life, adulting and such. It's really terrible. Don't grow up if you're a kid. Thanks once again for stopping in. Do appreciate it. This has been Gamer Dude. Happy gaming, and I will catch you all in the next one, guys.